And let's get started. The only change I made, I think I turned the overheads up just very slightly. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as we left it. And we'll take these rhythm guitars and we'll put them back in their home in the guitar section. And we'll take these drums and we'll assign them to a new random color with all their new tracks. Just cause. So it's all nice and the same. All right. Well, that color's pretty close to the effects color, so we better try that again. There we go. That's all right. No, still too close. Maybe I should just assign it to an actual color instead of just rolling the dice every time. But I'm very lazy. Wow. Just bad luck at this point. How many times? Yeah, that's different. No, it's not. It's pretty close to the bottom color. Whatever. Salmon will do. Get some salmon drums. Okay, anyway. We're now going to look at these guitars and check them out. So there's a couple things we could actually do with these. We could attempt to use, I'm just gonna mute all this crap. Could attempt to use the tones he's given us, which I'll show what we could probably do with those, or what we kind of do with those. And I'll show what we could do with the DI. Just two quick ways of just stuff we could do. Okay, so I'm gonna take these and I'm just gonna make a bunch of new tracks here. There we go. So this will be panned left, and this other one will be panned right. And we have his tone. Oops, sorry, a bit loud there. Which is actually not the worst. Like, it's not unusable, but it's getting there. Yeah, it's not terrible. Anyway, so let's EQ that. Just the basic tones here, which I will do by putting them both into a folder track here, and then we'll just solo it, and then we'll do some EQ to it with the drums also playing. Typically, I turn the volume down on the folder, not on the individual tracks. Okay, and we can see, you shouldn't really use spectrums visually all the time, but you can see that there's kind of a mid-scoop in this tone. So it's probably going to be, we're probably going to need to beef up the mid-range somewhat. That adds a lot of clarity there. It's also pretty weak in the low end. Like just sub 150, it sounds like it was already high passed, kind of like that, but maybe a little too much. But we'll do what we can here, and it sounds like almost bright but dark at the same time, which is weird. I think it's probably just because it's probably got some crap around 2.3 kilohertz. Boom, nailed it. And then it was just looping by accident. Wasn't actually part of the song. Kind of use this one like a treble, almost like as if it was a treble knob on an amp, and then just try and balance it. And if when it's balanced it sounds too fizzy, take a low pass. And do that to taste, and we'll probably come back and tweak that, but that should be okay for now. We have these DIs, but these to me sound a little like overcompressed. They don't really have much life or dynamics. We can actually do some weird crap with these DIs to try and bring that back a bit. We'll make a new folder track for the DIs. So these will be his tones, and these will be DI enhancement thing, just for this example here, and we'll do this. We'll now solo both these buses for the DI enhance. Actually, we'll just do the DI enhancement thing, and we're going to use these DIs. We're going to attempt to make them act almost like a pick attack. And you'll see what I mean here. We'll have to do some kind of weird distortion here. We'll do a wave shaping distortion, which can sound pretty cool. And then if we blend these, one sec, I'm just gonna zero these again. And it's pretty subtle. I'll turn it up so we can hear what it's really doing. You can hear that it's just adding some clarity there. It's obviously a bit too loud there, but you just kind of can play with that and just kind of get it to blend in nicely. We can also make it more distorted. This is another one of those things that it's almost like how you would apply reverb. You want to just not be able to hear it, or you want to be able to notice when you mute it, but you don't want to be able to hear it. And you'll hear that it's jumping out a bit, and this is when we would use a limiter. We could use reacomp as a limiter, attack 0, ratio infinite. Then now it's a limiter. We could use this. I think there's another limiter here that we can just use. NP. I think this one will work pretty quickly. And you can just smash those so they kind of sit and they don't jump out at you. and that's kind of cool, but it's also a compromise, and anytime you're making compromises kind of like this, you're generally lowering the quality of the overall mix. So, like, it's better than nothing, but it's not better than a track that was originally performed and recorded very well, basically. And you also have to kind of EQ these. This should also have a Another thing we could do to help it have a bit more life is we could add a transient controller to it, to the main tone here. Okay. And we'll just turn the attack up, and then that should catch some of the peaks and just kind of turn them up a bit so that it has more impact on the guitar tone here. Actually, I'll crank it so we can hear what it's doing. Actually. So that's somewhat subtle, but and then we could do some other stuff and keep fiddling with it. You could do some multi-band compression, try and even it out. As it is, the tone in general, to me, just sounds a little thin and stuff like that. And we'll just start from scratch and see kind of what we can get with some amp sims free stuff, and see what we can get. All right. So, okay. We'll just throw one of these DIs onto this new track and just call it new tone. I'll mute these. And we'll just load up. Well, first we'll load up an amp sim. We'll do Lextac, which is a free one. We'll do TSE 808, which is a free Tube Screamer plugin, which helps clean up guitar tones generally. And then we'll load for cabinet. This is an impulse response loader. Reverb can load impulse responses, so we'll do Catharsis impulses S-Pres high. And we'll turn that down, and we'll just see what we got. And it's always good to check your mix in mono as well to make sure that everything's kind of jiving in mono, because it's really, if it's not working in mono, the mix is messed up. Basically, is what it means. You might hear your guitars cancel if they're hard panned, but other than that, everything should kind of sound good in mono and stereo. Otherwise, it means your mix has some issues generally. So I'll just mono it while I'm dialing in this tone here. Another thing we should talk about is the quality of this actual tone, like of the DI. It's not terrible. It's just kind of dead, but like it'll be a little bass heavy, but it's not the worst. Just wanted to point that out. Okay. Generally with guitar tones, less saturation is actually better. Like it might not sound better to use soloed, but you want, when possible, to use as little of saturation or distortion as you possibly can, just for clarity's sake. So that's probably about as close as we're going to get with this amp sim in combination here. And so we'll grab the other DI. Okay. And one thing we can actually do here is we can just put a folder track for guitar. We'll call this one left. This will be guitar right. Take everything off mono, solo this, and oops, gotta get these guys in a track here. And then we'll actually take the amp sim and this whole effects chain. Actually, this might not work. I didn't really think this through. Okay, and we will do stereo on that, and then stereo on this, and hopefully reverb processes in stereo, and we'll find out, I guess. Yeah, it sounds stereo. I guess it does because it says mixed to mono. So, and then we can just EQ this stuff with one EQ. and this tone is okay. It kind of sounds a little flat. Maybe we could just like saturate it or something like that, or like do some compression or something to bring out the transients a bit. Yeah, okay, we'll just do it like this. And we'll just try some saturation. And it sounded like they could use some help, so I threw some saturation on there because they don't sound like they're as thick as they could be. Could be a result of it's hard to say. Like they have a scoop kind of in the lower, well, yeah, I guess low mids, and it could be from a lot of things. It could just be from like super old strings, or maybe the strings are too thick. But either way, it seems like getting a good tone out of these is going to be somewhat difficult, and we might result to like a multi-band or compression or something like that to kind of even it out a bit, or see what we can do with just try and just turn into a sausage. Maybe we can just turn into a sausage or something. It'll sound cool. Worth a shot. We also try a transient controller on the signal feeding it into the amp to boost the transients in the DI so the strings sound a little less dead. You'll find on a lot of, this is an impulse of a Mesa cab. I know that because my friend Ryan Harvey made it, the cab impulse we're using. And a lot of Mesa OS impulses at about 2300 or 22.3 kilohertz have an odd ring that you'll want to EQ out. Just really harsh on the ears. All right, so we had that. This one's definitely has a lot more articulation. We'll have to do some work on it as we go through the mix, I'm sure, to get it to sit right and sound awesome and all that. We also could try that trick of with the DIs again on this tone to try and add some more life to them again. If necessary, if we're having trouble getting them to fit or something, we'll try some desperate measure stuff. Yeah, I'll probably have to edit that part out because that was embarrassing, but we're back. But yeah, if you mono stuff out, or you mono your mix out, it makes it easier to kind of hear some EQ adjustments sometimes. So that guitar tone sounds pretty thin to me still. We'll see what happens when the bass comes in, see if it fills it out at all. Yeah, and I guess we'll start on the leads now. Okay, what do we got for leads? Oops. These are the same thing. Nope. Wait, maybe. Yeah, so these, if you null stuff out, if I went set to 0 volume, if you null it out and it cancels out, it's the same thing. Which is odd, because this one's... Okay, weird. Alright, we'll just take one of these. Need the other one. We'll just take our chain. Oops, our guitar chain that we've put, or that we made. Put it on the lead. Oh, one thing that I should do soon is I should add a reverb to the whole mix, which I usually do. I usually have a reverb send for the whole thing, and it really helps guitars sit in and sound like they're actually in a room. Because right now they sound like they're pretty out front and pretty dry. Sorry, just tweaking the end compression on that. Don't know why. No real reason. And we're gonna have to find ways, especially if we're using similar tones for the leads and rhythms, we're gonna have to find ways using delays and other stuff to separate them out, to make them sound different so that you can hear both of them at the same time. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of frequency masking, they'll end up stuck in each other. Like you'll just won't be able to hear one for the other. So we can't have that, so we'll have to do some work there. We'll reset the EQ for the lead we're working on here. So we could either, I don't think this lead ever happens when there's vocals, so we can give it the space of the vocals, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure about that. No. Well, actually it does, so we have to make sure that it's not in the space of the vocals, which kind of tells us what to do. So we can't give it that much mid-range, we'll have to give it like other areas to sit in. Okay, let's try it. Sorry, the computer's freaking out a bit. Okay, that's the other thing we can do is we can just try and make it sound different. I don't know if this is gonna work actually, because is this played up by itself ever, or is it just, I don't know, it's never really played by itself, so this might be okay. The wave shaping distortion is cool because it makes things gritty and dirty, but at the same time it compresses them and keeps them very level. So for lower level stuff in the mix, it's kind of an easy way if something's gonna be a little bit buried, so you can't really hear that it's kind of distorted and ugly sounding, for it to sound like, for you to be able to hear it. It has a lot of harmonic content to it, so. So we could give it like some air frequencies too if we needed, if we need to be able to hear it. You can kind of just, because there's not much up in this band, so at the end of the mix or wherever it's appropriate, you could just kind of turn this up or down and find where you can hear that lead, and just give it this space that nothing else really occupies except cymbals, and you'll probably be able to hear it up here. And your goal is you want to be able to turn them down as much as possible and still be able to hear them clearly. Like that's really what you want with anything that's not like an instrument that's going to be out front. And yeah, it sounds kind of weird now, but that's because we're taking out all of the frequencies it would normally have that would make it clear. But that'll just mask with the vocals, so we have to be really careful where we're going to put that lead. And also we can do some stuff with delays and whatnot too, and some chorusing and crap like that. I don't really know what effects I have on here that, let's see what chorus does. Apparently it just makes it hard to hear. Let's just do a pseudo stereo thing. This, I don't really know if this is mono compatible, so this might not be a good idea. You can get stereo enhancers that are mono compatible, and that's definitely a good idea. But it helps it get out of the middle, which will help it separate itself from the vocals and the snare drum, which are kind of take up some of the same frequency range. And we could put some kind of reverb on it, like a plate kind of reverb. I don't really know if I have one without using some expensive stuff. So let's see here. Which is nice because it also makes it stereo. Which kind of gets rid of the need to use the fake stereo, which is cool. And if you want the reverb to be really apparent, put your compressors and stuff after the reverb, and then it'll sound huge. Which I actually don't mind because it makes it sound like it's pushed further back. Maybe not the wave shaping one because that's a little odd to have a reverb that's distorting, but. And I think he included... Oh, never mind. For some reason I thought there was a delay on there already, but there is not, which is cool because we can add a delay. I don't know if I have any really good delays or anything that's going to be cool. What are you? It's nice to find a delay that instead of milliseconds will just sync to the tempo of your DAW, because it's going to be a pain for me to figure out what that should be set to exactly. Delay with chorus, that sounds exciting. Same thing. That's odd, basically. That's kind of weird. I'm going to keep looking. I'll just use RIA delay, I guess, and we'll just put some simple reverbs in here where we can actually put it to notes, or to note length. So. Okay, I gotta figure out how this works here. Oops. And okay, that delay doesn't sound great, but okay, we'll keep working on it. Another thing you should notice is listen to this ring out. Everything you heard after the sound ends, is just mud, like in the mix. You don't need any of that. So it's a good idea to, unless it's like a part where you hear the delay ringing out and it's important, but for the most part, most delays aren't like that. They're usually you're not listening to the tail of it, you know, isolated. So you just take a gate. I'll copy this track actually, and we'll mute this one, and we'll call this key input or something like that. And then we're gonna key this guy, we're going to route it to this. So we're key to our DI that we were using previously. So we're just copying the signal, routing one to the other. We're going to route it to channels 3 and 4 because we're going to use it as a key input on a gate. This might be a little advanced for some people, but you can look up on the internet what this is exactly. And we'll send pre-fader, post effects, even though there's no effects, whatever. And then so this is sending itself, a copy of itself to this on input channels 3 and 4. And then we'll take a gate and then we'll tell it to use the auxiliary input left, right. And that way we can have it so that it's keying off the dry signal and then gating the wet signal with the delay. So it gets rid of the ring out. And you can change your hold and release and everything so it's smoother than that. So instead of having the delay that goes like this, making everything muddy, you now have this. Or however you set it. So that's probably a lot better for the mix and for clarity's sake. So this is pretty much how far we got with guitars. And we'll I'll probably, just so this video's doesn't take forever, I'll probably just do like work on it, and then I'll just just tell you what the changes were that I made from this point and what I did for the other stuff. Otherwise, this video is gonna take forever. All right, cool. So next we'll be mixing bass in, I guess, and then we'll do the vocals. Awesome. Thanks for watching.